Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just wait a few more minutes to see that everyone gets into the Cultivating Our Well-Being Forum today. Just wait a few more minutes. Okay, well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our second Well-Being Community Forum hosted by the Semel Healthy Campus Initiative Center at UCLA and the UCLA Staff Assembly. I want to recognize the turbulent times that many of us have been, experiencing in the last several months. And for some of us, this might feel like the early days of the fire when there was a fear of the unknown and the future. I also want to recognize what's happening on the ground, such as acts of kindness that can lift spirits, build connections, and make things easier for all of us, like the Thursday Fresh Food giveaway that was launched by the UCLA Community Program Office, Semel HCI Center, Residential Life and Food Forward nonprofit that has been meeting the needs to up to 500 students, staff, and faculty and community members. And it also provides a volunteer opportunity. So if you're interested, please reach out to the Community Program Office or us at Semel HCI Center. So before we get started, let's all take a moment to take 2 deep breaths together to help us center ourselves here today. Thank you so much. For those who do not know me, I'm Dr. Wendy Slusser, Associate Vice Provost for the Semel Healthy Campus Initiative Center and Clinical Professor in the Schools of Medicine and Public Health. For over 10 years, I've had the honor to lead the center based in the Chancellor's Office with the aim to build an inclusive culture of health for the over 85,000 students, staff, and faculty in our community, and to have opportunities to thrive and flourish here on campus and in our community and other universities around the world. Our goal today is to connect with our Bruin community and highlight health and well-being activities, resources, and services, some that might not be as obvious, like biophilia or the free diabetes prevention program. And now, with great respect, I introduce Shalay Garland, Vice President of the Wellness for Staff Assembly, as well as a Quality Improvement Specialist at UCLA Health. Shalay will provide the objectives for the forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Schlosser. As we navigate through 2025, it is important to prioritize our health and well-being, especially with all of the recent events we have experienced so far. Today, we aim to showcase some of health and well-being resources and services that can play a crucial role in supporting you through these times. Whether you're looking for mental health support, physical well-being resources, or getting outside and connected with nature, UCLA offers a range of resources and services designed to help you thrive, both on campus, in your work site, and in your personal life. Therefore, today, we will explore some of these resources and services that can make an impact on your overall health and well-being this year. For Staff Assembly, UCLA Staff Assembly is an organization founded in 1978 for staff dedicated to promoting interest and welfare of staff employees. We're supported by the Office of Chandler and Campus Health Resources. Staff Assembly provides a two-way communication system to help promote respect and cooperation among staff and other members of the UCLA community. We serve on major campuses and system-wide communities. Staff Assembly not only offers a vehicle through which to stay informed and feel included, but it also is an opportunity for staff to give back to the UCLA community through staff scholarships, fundraising, and special events. So for today, we will hear from 3 esteemed speakers. Then we'll have opportunity to field questions from the audience in the second half of the session. Please add your questions for the speakers to the Q&A feature in this webinar.
Thank you so much, Shalay, for setting the expectations for today's community forum. And now it is with the highest regard I introduce Angela DiBlasi, the director of the Staff and Faculty Counseling Center and a licensed clinical social worker. Angela will share her work and what resources are available to UCLA employees through the Staff and Faculty Counseling Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schlesser. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be here today. And as Dr. Schlesser and others mentioned, these are very trying times for us. The last 5 years have been so trying, and it just seems to continue, right? With COVID and then returning to work and the new world of work, the protests that happened on campus last year, the election, the political landscape, and the fires. And there's a lot of people are feeling a lot of uncertainty right now and a lot of stress. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about strategies that can help enhance your emotional well-being. So normally when we go through something, we typically think of 6 emotions that we may feel, such as feeling sad, happy, fear, anger, surprise, or disgust. That's, for most of us, it can be our vocabulary of when we're upset. But research shows the more you have a variety of emotions that you can pull from and identify really how you're feeling, it can help you then create some strategies specific to your feelings. So I'd like everyone who's watching right now to take a few minutes, look at this slide, which has a variety of emotions, and think of an experience that you've experienced maybe the last week or two that really triggered something for you, either a real upset or something very happy. And instead of just focusing on happy or sad, try to tease out what you're actually feeling. So look at these emotions and choose a few right now that triggered for you. Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to share an experience I had with a client. So I had a client come in recently, and she was saying that she was feeling very anxious, and she has a tendency to feel anxious. She's dealt with anxiety for many years. And so I tried to understand that a little bit more. And then she said she was feeling sad and angry. And we tried to understand that even a little bit more and try to tease it out more. And she said it was related to what's happening politically and everything she's hearing on the news. And she has family members that are immigrants and are undocumented. So she's very concerned about that. Also, she's involved in research, and she's very concerned about some of the executive orders related to grants. And she was wondering how that was going to impact her at work and how it would impact her and her family. So when she really looked at the emotion, she was able to understand that she felt very disillusioned with the way things are. And she just was resigning herself that this is just how it's going to be. She also felt powerless, helpless, and restless. So she got some specific feelings that she was able to identify from this list. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So emotional intelligence is, number one, being self-aware of the emotions that you're feeling. And the reason we want to be self-aware is so we can regulate our emotions, right? We can manage them, particularly in social interactions, in an effective way. Next slide. So by Mary, my client Mary, I will say, by her being able to identify what was happening for her, she was feeling powerless, helpless, disillusioned, and restless. So one of the strategies is to focus then on what you can control. And what she decided is that there are things she can control. Yes, there's things she can't control, of course, but even within that, there's so much she can control, such as volunteering and doing things that make her feel good in her community, such as hiring and meeting with and consulting with an immigration attorney. Also, she can take care of herself, focus on her, because she's feeling very restless. So what are some things she can do to help her sleep? Eating healthy, having a routine, that will help her with her sleep and her exercise routine. So when she felt a little bit more, she said she felt a little bit more empowered when she focused on what she could control. The next one is self-compassion. And self-compassion, all it is being gentle with yourself. And it's very hard for us when we're going through so much stress to be gentle with ourselves. And Dr. Christine Neff, NEFF, is a psychologist who, you can look her up, has done a lot of work on self-compassion. And she's shared that there's 3 components. So number 1 is focusing on what it is that's triggering you, right? What is it that's upsetting you? 2, realizing you're not alone. And certainly when I was talking to Mary, she's not alone. So many people right now are feeling that uncertainty, that anxiousness. It's really hitting her home because she's worried about her family. She's feeling that helplessness. And a lot of people are feeling that collectively. And knowing that you're not alone when you have moments of distress really helps. And then giving herself some gentle thoughts, just as she's doing everything she can to be there for her family. And also at work, she's working really hard to do what she can, given some of the changes, and possibly these changes may not take full effect. So looking at it that way as well. The next strategy is self-distancing. So she was saying that when she does get into that place where she's ruminating in her head and she's thinking about things, she starts feeling helpless and hopeless and powerless and starts spiraling down. And it's hard for her to get out of it. So sometimes it's important that we own our feelings, right? But sometimes we need to put a little distance on that too. So sometimes if you're stuck in your feelings and feel like you're spiraling, you can kind of zoom out of that and look at it from a different perspective. And instead of saying, I'm feeling these, maybe saying, Mary's feeling this, or she's feeling this. And it really helps you see a different perspective, put a little distance on it, and kind of get out of yourself for a moment. And when you do it like that, you can be a little bit more gentle with yourself and give yourself those positive feelings, just like you would a good friend. Another example is reframing your thoughts. So often, many of you have done this before, but it's a really good exercise, is that when during uncertain times, is when we feel uncertain, we have negative thoughts that drive our feelings, that drive our behaviors. So it's important to really try to reframe those thoughts. It can be, any kind of thought you have. For example, if you're struggling at work and your workload's too much, and with everything going on, you're feeling just overwhelmed. You're feeling you can't get to your work, you can't finish it, you're resigned to what's going on outside and on the news, and then you're feeling overwhelmed, and then your behavior is you're less engaged, you're not motivated, you're watching the news too much. So you want to reframe those thoughts again and what you can control. And maybe if you're overwhelmed at work, something you can control is maybe talking to your boss about what you need to prioritize, starting in little steps, breaking things down. And when you do that, you feel a little bit more sense of control, a little less overwhelmed, and then a little bit more empowered, a little bit more engaged, and a little bit more motivated. And something really important is not to cut the news, right? With Mary, that's one of the techniques we used, is that she wouldn't be on social media as much or watch the news as much. And then finally, the very last thing, which I think this whole forum was set up for, and the Semel Healthy Campus and Staff Assembly, which are great initiatives and groups, is connecting with others. And we sometimes feel so lonely and isolated, and it's so important to connect with others, especially like-minded people, that you could share your feelings and trust them, and they can share with you, so you know you're not alone. So these are some strategies that you can try. And if you need support, you can reach out to our program. This is our program. We are the Staff and Faculty Counseling Center. It is the university's employee assistance program. We have been in existence for 40 years. We're a confidential service and we're voluntary. And staff, faculty, and immediate family members can utilize our services. We have 5 counselors, 2 Spanish-speaking counselors, and 1 Mandarin-speaking counselor. Right now, all our appointments are via HIPAA-compliant Zoom or telephone. And we see people up to 3 sessions. And during that time, we do an assessment, short-term problem-solving tips and tools, kind of some of the strategies we just talked about, and also help refer through insurance. And we help employees navigate their insurance, their mental health component of their insurance. And we actually meet with providers and vet them. So when we're providing referrals, they're people that we have met and we feel confident in their services. We provide leader consultation and coaching for leaders who need support in dealing with difficult situations. And we also provide in-services and support groups. So thank you very much. This is how you can get a hold of us. Our phone number, our hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, our website, and our QR code. So thank you.
Great information. Thank you, Angela, for shedding light on your important work and support services offered by the staff and Faculty Counseling Center. As a reminder to our audience, please feel free to put in any questions you have for our speakers in the Q&A, and we'll come back to them during the Q&A portion after we have heard from our 3 speakers. So next, it is my privilege to now introduce Samantha Soetenga, who is the Employee Wellness Program for the FitWell program at UCLA Recreation. Many of us are aware of the fantastic campus gyms, but Samantha will share UCLA Recreation resources and services they may be well.
Thank you, Chalet. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. When we are thinking about cultivating a well-being toolkit, I wanted to start us off with just some simple tips for thinking about how to manage stress and how to create healthy practices. And this will lay the groundwork for me sharing more about what we have through UCLA Recreation FitWell with all of our resources and offerings for the Bruin community. So this is one of the flyers that we have. And number 1, exercise is really beneficial and important, not only for building strength and physical health, but also for mental health. We know that it can help to reduce anxiety, improve mood, improve self-esteem. It can help with our sleep. It can help decrease tension. And we know that it's core within our recreation programs. And we're certainly trying to frame it in a way that it's not only important to move our bodies so that we feel better physically, but also mentally. Number 2, nutrition. We know that what we eat affects how we feel. And so within recreation, we have a lot of nutrition-related programs and resources as well. We have one-on-one nutrition counseling. We have our teaching kitchen, and we try to incorporate health education related to nutrition in many of our special events and programs as well. We really know that mindfulness and meditation and breathing is really important to help with that mind-body connection, inducing our parasympathetic nervous system and helping us to relax, especially when we are going through conflict or challenges. We have a few different resources for mindfulness and meditation, which I'll highlight in the upcoming slides. And then moving on to number 4, taking regular breaks. So we have a resource which I'll chat about as well when we think about taking the type of break that you need and structuring your day to have a more active working day and to sitting less throughout our days and moving more. And finally, which I know we'll talk about a little bit today too, just making time for things that you enjoy. And what I love about recreation is that we are always trying to think about adding that play dynamic into our programs, into our special events. So thinking about what brings you joy and can you take some time in your day so that you can focus on that and coming back to your why when it comes to thinking about well-being and health promotion. So this next slide shows all of our different portfolio of offerings, starting from our awareness campaigns, our Move Mail emails, which is an email that's sent at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. If you sign up for that Move Mail, you get an email at those times, just as a gentle reminder to move more throughout your day. We have a Bruin pause system, which I'll speak to in the next slide. We have drop-in fitness classes and instructional classes, one-on-one services if you're looking for more of that one-on-one support in personal training or nutrition. For our employees, we have a Warm Up to Work program, which is our injury prevention program. We have experiential learning with our teaching kitchen. You, as an employee, can request an educational workshop tailored to your department. We have a Fitwell Talks speaker series, which is in connection with UCLA Health. And every month we have a talk where we're talking about a topic that is really relevant for health and wellness and behavior change and health promotion. And then we have our more intensive lifestyle change programs, such as our diabetes prevention program, which Dr. Slusser mentioned, and our Bruin health improvement programs, as well as our Bruin MindFit program. So I believe there's going to be a link in the chat to our Fitwell website. And if you navigate through our website to the program tab, you'll see that there's a lot of different resources that you can just find on our website and sign up that way. Next slide, I would like to highlight our Bruin Productive Active Working System. And this is an online website resource toolkit with free resources and tips of how to create a more active workday. And so it's all about taking a look at your schedule and thinking about how you can move more throughout your day, utilizing all of the resources that we have linked on this website. So we have monthly movement calendars, we have video resources, we have nutrition tips on here, we have mindset movement videos. So just a whole system of how to take a pause and look at your day and thinking about how you can create that more active workday to feel more engaged and more productive and decrease injuries as well. Next slide. Again, one of our other programs that we have completely free for staff and students is our mindful movement and meditation program called Bruin MindFit. We offer this every quarter. There are different modules that we offer. Currently, the one we have right now is our stress reduction module, and it is offered Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 1 p.m. virtually. And so drop-in style program, you register and you get access to the videos and weekly emails with tips related to creating that everyday wellness practice related to breathing, meditation, mindfulness, and yoga movement. Next slide. Our diabetes prevention program is another program that I wanted to highlight today. So this is our lifestyle change program that is more intensive, and it offers group support over the course of a year. So one small group of individuals get started with a trained lifestyle coach, and they have weekly meetings in the beginning of that year where they have that group support and that accountability for setting those lifestyle change goals, with the ultimate goal of improving health and reducing risk for type 2 diabetes. So again, that social support and that group support we know is really helpful. And then finally, I wanted to highlight one of our special events that we have annually. We have our 19th annual iHeart Walking event coming up at the end of February. And this is another opportunity for staff to come together and be together on campus and move and explore campus and find that social support and that community aspect. So again, you can sign up for this on our website, and it'll be the last week in February. One more slide I have is just a slide that highlights a few of our other programs and a QR code to find the links for that. So we have, again, our Bruin Health Improvement Program, which has different tracks depending on what you're looking for your fitness level. We have drop-in fit zone classes. We have our Bruin MindFit program, Move Mail, special events. So many different resources and offerings, just depending on where you are and what you're looking to build for that well-being toolkit, and depending on what your needs are. So I encourage you to navigate to our website. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Samantha, for sharing your impactful work and the many resources available to our Bruin community through UCLA Recreation in collaboration with so many, including our center at Semel HCI. I have to say, I didn't even know about some of them. It's so classic, you know. I didn't know about the Bruin Pause, Bruin Productive Active Working System, and the MindFit drop-in virtual 12 to 1 on Tuesday and Thursday. So Thank you for sharing that and all of the great work you do. So now it's with great esteem I introduce Dr. James Bassett, who serves as a lecturer in the Institute of Environment and Sustainability and the Community Health Sciences Department of the Fielding School of Public Health, as well as a master gardener and a faculty advisor to the Jane B. Semel HCI Community Garden and Sunset Canyon Recreation Center. He'll share how connecting to nature can be beneficial for well-being and resources to experience biophilia in your day-to-day life. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Dr. Slusser, and thank you everybody for joining us today. As Dr. Slusser pointed out, I want to spend some time with you today talking about how you can connect with nature in support of your overall well-being. Could I get the next slide? It's difficult to define well-being. If you were to ask 5 people how they would define well-being for themselves, you'd probably get at least 6 answers. For me, well-being works a little bit like a 3-legged stool, and those 3 legs support a seat, and on that seat rests the well-being of the individual. Those 3 legs are the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of our lives, and it can be easy to sort of fall into the habit of attending to maybe one of those legs without giving the other 2 legs the same kind of attention. One of the things that I really appreciate about the offerings that you've heard about here at UCLA is that they give you an opportunity to fully attend to all 3 of those legs, because it's when all 3 of those legs are equal and strong and stable that you have a stable seat to support your own well-being. If you're a student here at UCLA, it's not surprising that your well-being can be challenged periodically. Certainly, the academic pressures of performing well in classes, the social isolation of maybe being away from friends and family while you're on campus. The urban environment. I grew up here in Los Angeles, so UCLA is my backyard. But if you grew up somewhere outside of the big city, UCLA is a real change in lifestyle, and all of these things can challenge your well-being. But well-being obviously is important to attend to, because when you are healthy, physically, mentally, and emotionally, you're not just surviving. You're not just making it through the day. You can actually develop and thrive. You can build resistance to the highs and lows that are naturally going to be a part of daily life. And ultimately, you're not just trying to get to the end of the week in one piece. You are able to really pursue the things that are meaningful to you in life. And connecting with nature is one of the tools that you have available to you for self-care, to be able to support your physical, mental, and emotional well-being all at the same time. Can I get the next slide? There is science behind the connection between nature and individual well-being. There's a body of literature that I would encourage you to explore. Among other things, even a short amount of time in a natural space appears to be able to reduce stress, specifically to lower your cortisol level. That's your stress hormone, and even improve your mood. A walk through a pine forest, apparently because of the terpenes that the pine trees put into the air, can boost your focus and improve your creativity. Obviously, these kinds of cognitive benefits are only going to be a plus when you're working in an academic environment. And under the right set of circumstances, those green spaces, those natural spaces, can support your social connections. I mean, I think there's a reason that we like to go on picnics and gather with our friends in outdoor spaces, and that can help us establish or reestablish our sense of belonging and community. Luckily for us at UCLA, despite the fact that we're in an urban setting, we do have access to green spaces, and I think that it's important for us to seek those out and to discover the opportunities to connect to nature that are right here on our own campus. I'll begin talking about the Jane B. Semel HCI UCLA Community Garden, for which I am very fortunate to be able to be the faculty advisor. We have about 31 raised beds where you can garden and grow vegetables and flowers and such. Those beds provide students and staff and faculty with opportunities for a hands-on gardening experience. But even if you're not a plot holder, up at the garden, we still offer workshops, hands-on workshops that give you a chance to roll up your sleeves and put your hands in the soil and build a relationship with with the the plants and fruits and vegetables that are growing in that space, and be able to take that knowledge and those skills with you to your home, to your apartment, possibly to your dorm room. We may explain how that works, and really plug into nature through the act of gardening. Also on campus is the Matthias Botanical Garden, which I've got to say is one of the maybe the best kept secrets at the UCLA campus. I did my undergraduate work at UCLA, and a friend of mine introduced me to the Matthias Garden, and it was really like walking into an oasis right in the middle of our own campus. It is this beautiful, quiet retreat. It's like taking a stroll through a forest or a stroll through a wonderful jungle environment. But it's a place where you can really step away from the hustle and bustle of campus and engage in the practice of mindfulness. You can really engage your senses, the sights, the sounds, the smells of that green space, that profoundly green space that is the garden, and awaken yourself in a whole new way. It's a physical, mental, and emotional experience that you should treat yourself to. If you've never been there, please go. It's just located in the south east corner of campus. Just any map of UCLA will show you where it is. Um, Take a moment, take a stroll, and enjoy that space. Maybe the newest member, if I can call it that, of the green spaces at UCLA is the B deck of the Semel Institute for Neuroscience. Up until very recently, it was a kind of a hardscape, we call it, just sort of a space where there was a basketball court and some other things. But very recently, it started to evolve into a green space. Just a few weeks ago, we held an event where we potted more than a dozen fruit trees. It won't be long before you can pop up into the B deck and pick an orange or a fresh apple right off the tree. But that's just the beginning. The plan is that over time, that whole space will be converted into a garden space with various nooks and crannies that you can alone and be mindful and meditative if you want to, or sit with friends and enjoy some quiet time, or be there with friends and family for reflection or healing, as the case may be. As people say, watch this space. It's really going to be something. There's other green spaces all over campus. Uh, there's maps of UCLA that if you look for the green spaces, or just as you're walking through campus, keep your eyes open. There are green nooks and crannies where you can stand under a tree or sit down on a green patch of grass, and really breathe in the fresh air and take in the sights and sounds. Watch the birds and the squirrels that will always be interested in what you're doing. And they are peppered across campus. Despite the fact that we are an urban campus, honestly, we are one of the most green campuses in Los Angeles that I'm aware of. And it's up to us to really fully appreciate that and enjoy the value of that. I have to note that all of these spaces are free. They are all open for students and staff and faculty. So by all means, take full advantage of those spaces. So how do we bring the wellness value of nature into our lives? Some suggestions. One, take mindful walks. I am as guilty as the next person of running through campus, from one thing to the other, and not taking the time to pause and breathe it in. I've gotten better. You'll sometimes see me walking through campus, taking a moment to, take a breath, to enjoy the green spaces and the fresh air and all the trees that we have on campus, and to engage my senses um, in that natural surrounding that we get to enjoy. If you've got Google at your fingertips, and maybe not just this second, but look up the expression forest bathing. It's a practice that became very popular in Japan, and that's growing in popularity here in the United States, of going into those green spaces, taking those slow, mindful walks, and really taking that time to enjoy the present in those natural spaces, and enjoying the physical, mental, and emotional well-being that can come with that. I've mentioned the gardens at UCLA, and of course, you can garden virtually anywhere you want. But I'll add this, that people will garden for different reasons. You can garden for physical fitness if you want to. You can get a very good workout gardening if that's your intention. People will garden for fun, as I often do. You can garden specifically for the purposes of growing food, but you can also garden with the intention of supporting mental health. And there are some design choices that you can make when you're gardening for that purpose. The short list would include things like choosing fruits and vegetables that are easy to grow. Some plants are a little bit fiddlier than others. Some are pretty foolproof. If you are gardening for relaxation, if you are gardening to reduce stress and anxiety, grow the easy stuff. Green beans are a favorite. Swiss chard, another favorite. Once again, you can Google easy vegetables to grow, and there's a long list to choose from, and they all grow well here in the greater LA area. You can also grow in some simple ways. There's some very elaborate gardening techniques that master gardeners like to experiment with and things like that. Don't worry about that. Gardening can be as simple as putting a seed in the ground, giving it some water, and watching it grow. I like to use the analogy of throwing a baseball when I talk about getting into gardening, that an infant can throw a baseball, and if they want to, with some practice and maybe a little natural talent, eventually you can go pro. But you can start with the simple, and it can be absolutely enjoyable and relaxing, and really be an act of self-care. Third, take study breaks in green spaces. I love Powell Library. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful space. It's a wonderful space to, study in between classes and so on. But every once in a while, take it outside. Plop yourself down under a tree or on a green patch. Do your reading there. Meet up with your study buddies outdoors. It'll go a long way to adding some relaxation to your study time. It's great for focus. It's great for mental clarity, and we do have those green spaces all over campus for you to enjoy. And finally, look for group activities in open spaces. Talk to the folks over in recreation. They're brilliant at providing those offerings. And don't forget the dock we have down at Marina Del Rey if you like to get out in the open air in the water. It's endless, the list of opportunities that you can have to experience nature right on our own campus. It's all on your doorstep, so to speak. Let me hand it back to you, Dr. Slessor.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Bassett, for bringing to life the wonderful garden spaces available for all of us to spend time to connect with nature and bolster our emotional well-being. I love your tips about start simply and no pressure. Really resonates, I think, probably with many of us with our high-pressured jobs. And green beans and Swiss chard. I'm ready. All of our speakers have really had some common themes that I would like to, highlight: connections, kindness to yourself and to others, being, take a moment and smell the daisy, so to speak, things that we can do on our own, but also as a community. And so for now, we're going to open it up to Q&A. And please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And I'm going to pass it on to Shalay to kick off the Q&A session.
Okay, great. So like Dr. Slosser said, we will continue with Q&A. We had a question in the chat, and this is for Angela. So the question is, does the close family eligible for counseling include adult siblings?
Great question. So we see family members 18 and older that live in the same household, or a partner, and the partner doesn't have to live in the same household.
Cool. And I'll jump in. There's a fast answered question for James. How does one get to the B deck?
Best way to get to the B deck would be to go down where Westwood Boulevard runs through campus. You'll see the Semel Institute's storefront right there. If you go and you ask the nice people right inside the door where the B deck is, they'll direct you to an elevator that will take you up a floor. And you can exit right out onto the floor and follow the signs to the deck.
Awesome. And also there's what they're calling a club, but it's really the group that's affinity group building it out, and everyone's welcome. It's every other Friday afternoon from 4 to 5.
Every other Friday.
And it can be it's virtual and in person, correct?
Some of the time, if you get on their email list, they'll be happy to announce when the next meetings are coming up.
And we'll be putting all these resources in a follow-up email for all those that have participated. I have one more for Sam that came in. It's probably a hard question to answer, but I think it's come to mind for most people, is all the incredible resources that you do have, some of which are during the workday. Is there some way that, and you even have mentioned it, like everyone has demanding schedules and we have so many responsibilities. Has there ever been an exploration? And I know one group who's actually addressed this, but an exploration of how we could integrate this into the workday where people don't have to use their time off, like their lunch hour, to do things.
Yeah, great question. I saw that in the Q&A here. So I think this goes back to your work, Wendy, with the Healthy Campus Initiative, just making the healthy choice the easy choice and creating these built environments where managers and departments are promoting it being easy to take those breaks, to take a walking meeting, to have a break related to physical activity and nutrition, and certainly with recreation. We are working with departments like this with our warm up to work program, where we are having on work time these short warm ups so that they are able to have some physical activity before the workday on their time. But certainly I think it is department specific as to what is allowed and what is appropriate and how much control people have with their schedules. And I know that's certainly something that we strive for at UCLA is we knowing that, the more ability we have to have flexibility in our schedules to take breaks, the easier it is to just overall have a healthier, happier workday. So certainly I can't speak to it being a campus-wide rule and the infrastructure, but I think we're getting there and we're building that culture of wellness.
Thanks, Sam. I know for the warm up to work, it was it was a way to prevent injury that really motivated it. And so there's a good return on investment. You take some time stretching, right? And you're less likely to be, I guess, if you'll be stretched. I guess that's the word. You know more about this language than I do, but someone wanted to know, is there a process that you're aware of that could help do this kind of warm up to work or other activities?
Yeah, so if there's demand or department is seeking a warm up, we certainly can work with them to offer something, or perhaps there's already one in their area that they don't know about. So, happy to open up and increase awareness that way if they want to reach out to us at Fitwell. Really happy and excited to explore that.
Great. And just one other thing about the diabetes prevention program that Sam co-leads. The dining and housing and hospitality made a decision to have that offered during paid time. So leadership, if things are presented to them, and we're happy to support any kind of presentation to make it sound like a very worthwhile thing, not just for the well-being of the individual, but the well-being of the work community and then ultimately the health.
Okay, I have a question for all the speakers. So what are some key components that everyone should consider when building their own well-being toolkit or in their workspace as a supervisor or manager?
In case I think Shalae's, your internet connection is a little bit dicey, so you want me to
Okay.
repeat it? You want me to repeat that?
Yes,
Is
please.
that all right? Okay. What are some key components that everyone should consider when building their own well-being toolkit or in their workspace as a supervisor and manager? That was for the group. Anyone that would like to jump in?
I'll just start and then other people can chime in. I think when anyone develops a toolkit, they want to be really realistic about their jobs, their lives, their commitments, and to start with small steps in their toolkit and see how that goal goes and build it up. Because you want to be successful, you want to have just a few micro steps and micro goals, and like not start with an hour every day of exercise, maybe just 30 minutes, or maybe just getting out and walking. And when you have some micro steps, then you can have successes and that feels good. So I would recommend that.
I can add to that. I also think that just being smart about wellness habits and goals and making them specific and realistic so that as a supervisor, you are sort of walking the walk and showing your team, that you are invested in wellness and that you're sort of practicing these different techniques and that you support your subordinates or colleagues or team in creating their own healthy habits. And again, as a supervisor or manager, I think just being accessible and empathetic and engaged and, knowing what the resources are on campus so that number one, you can utilize it, but then number two, you can, share with your team as well.
If I could echo some of the things that my colleagues were just saying, I think as you're developing your own kit, it really is about your own individual kit. What might be a good wellness practice for one individual might not be the best fit for another individual. And I think it's worthwhile to sort of explore and find what works for you. I have a neighbor that runs 7 miles a day. I'm not sure I drive 7 miles a day, but I do try to get in 20 minutes of active movement, and that's good for me.
Thank you. And, by the way, speaking of the amount of time taking active movements, Dr. Tony Yancey, who really coined the phrase fit breaks and take 10, showed that if you just took 5 to 10 minutes 3 times a day and you're in the course of your day, that adds up to, 20 to 30 minutes or so, and you can really reach that goal in small fits. And sometimes that's even considered better. Right. There's a question, this could be for James, but everyone, what are some of your other favorite less well-known green spaces on campus?
Yeah, on a personal note, when I was an undergraduate, I was a South Campus student, and I made the very smart decision to befriend a North Campus student who introduced me to the sculpture garden up there that I might not have gone to otherwise. Um, Even up in the sculpture garden itself, there are these nooks and crannies that if you really just go to the garden, the sculpture garden, for the purposes of visiting the sculpture garden and explore. And beyond just the main walkways, there are these little corners that can be, very serene and kind of away from a lot of the foot traffic and can become very peaceful. There's also a walkway that I really enjoy. It's on the east side of Powell Library, and it's really kind of a major thoroughfare as people are crossing through campus. But there are these grassy spaces and tables under the trees on either side. And I have a distinct memory of sitting out there once taking having a sandwich for lunch, and I was joined by no fewer than 2 squirrels and 3 birds. Um, a little Disney princess kind of a moment. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but and really just finding just in that moment that I was in the company of nature, right next to Powell Library. Who knew?
Thank you, James. Anyone else want to chime in?
I'll add our one of our facilities, the Sunset Canyon Recreation Center up there. We have a lot of green space for studying, lounging. So that's certainly a favorite space that I would love to add. And then I also will just echo the sculpture garden and of course the botanical gardens too. We've created some puzzle walks through recreation as part of some of our special events, and they are linked up on our website too. So again, as you're navigating maybe many of our Fitwell resources, you can come across one of those puzzle walks, which will take you around campus, and you'll get to sort of use your brain and figure out, oh, where's this space, and come up with the answer and come up with the unscramble the phrase. But again, you'll get to explore campus that way too and find some of maybe other lesser known green spaces.
Thank you, Sam. Angela, do you have a favorite?
Not yet. But listening to my colleagues, I'm sure going to be checking those out. So thank you for the suggestions.
Great. And I know that the Luskin Conference Center has actually a map of many of these green spaces that you could get from the front desk there. And for those that aren't aware, Semel HCI Center and volunteers from all over campus planted a medicinal garden just south of the Ronald Reagan Hospital, honoring the Mexican culture, the Chinese culture, and the Native American California culture. And those plants are in the perimeter just south of the cafe that they have in Ronald Reagan. Also, Sage Hill. I don't know if James, you wanted to talk a little bit about Sage Hill.
Yes, Sage Hill is tucked away kind of above and behind roughly where the dormitories are. And it's a space where there's still a lot of California native plants growing. I know that there's some faculty and students that for years have been working to really maintain that as this natural indigenous plant space where indigenous pollinators, native pollinators can feed and thrive and so forth. Find it on a map. It takes a little looking to find it, but it's a great treasure hunt, and it's almost like a little wild space that we have on campus. Don't wear your best shoes. It is a wild space.
And I noticed Gino mentioned from the Ash Center that it's good bird watching there. And yeah. And I learned this morning that it's also one of the last natural chaparral habitats in Southern California.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any other, let's see, we've got a few more minutes and we have such esteemed speakers. I would love to hear something for maybe Angela, if you could, what can you do when your supervisor is not very sensitive person during challenging times? What are some non-confrontational ways to let them know that you need a bit of understanding?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's one I would really recommend that they reach out to us so we can kind of provide some coaching and some guidance and role playing before they actually approach their supervisor. But once they approach the supervisor, I would recommend beforehand doing some of the things we talked about, like the mindfulness. So they're going in very centered and presenting calm. I would recommend setting an appointment and trying to have a place where it's confidential. If they can arrange to have a closed office or a time where both of them would be alone in this conversation. And just focusing on maybe what the employee is feeling and are thinking and feeling and how it impacts them, why it's difficult for them. So whenever you say, it's difficult for me because I'm feeling overworked right now, and why that's hard is because I feel like I can't do my work well, and that's important to me. I'd like to maybe set some time up for us to meet. We can prioritize. You can help me focus on what areas would be best to focus on first. And then when we talk to people, we get really nervous and we keep talking. So pausing, breathing, and asking the supervisor, "What do you think? What would be helpful for us to work together on this?"
Thank you so much, Angela. That's helpful for all of us to use in all of our conversations. Thanks. There's a question that's specific about what else you might offer, Sam, through recreation like yoga and meditation in the Fitwell program. And I'm thinking maybe you could just do broadly, like how can everyone, you just have like a plethora of incredible resources and people that deliver them. What would you say would be the best step for people to learn more?
Gosh, great question. I was just trying to answer one in the Q&A here. So we do just offer so many different resources depending on what people are looking for. I would say I do want to highlight Fit Zones. I don't know if everyone's aware of that. Those are our drop-in free Group X classes for employees, and they are offered virtually, in person at the John Wooden Center, and there are a few different classes offered around campus. So that's certainly some place to start, and that does have a few yoga offerings. And then we again have our Bruin MindFit program, which is related to yoga and meditation, mindfulness, currently offered virtually. But then sort of as an offshoot of that, we have our Group X de-stress class. So anyone who's a recreation member and wants to again access some group-based classes, we have our Group X Pass that they could purchase and access a de-stress yoga class that's quite lovely, as well as sound bath classes, other yoga classes, other group fitness classes. And then, of course, we have our more intensive programs too. We try to send out a big marketing email every quarter that has a big list of all of our offerings. So I would say keep an eye out for that. And then that way you all can be aware of our Bruin Health Improvement programs too, which I think are just really great programs that we offer for employees. I see another question coming into the chat here.
Thanks. I think we're running at the end of our scheduled time. I apologize for not maybe answering all of the questions, but we're very happy to have had everyone participate. I want to thank all our esteemed speakers for the incredible well-being resources, but also the tips and also your incredible dedication to our community. We now leave you with some next steps. One is please send a post survey we're going to send you a post survey to all of you. We really value your feedback on this event and really would like your recommendations on what you might like to learn or hear about in future events. We also have a Semel HCI Center grant program, which can support you in running your own community forums. That has a budget of up to $500 that could help you with, food costs or something like that. And then we also will be doing a randomly selection of the 5 individuals who complete the survey that we're going to circulate by the end of, I think the due date will be next week. So, and those that get picked will get a $30 e-gift card giveaway. A curated list of resources will be available on our website, Semel HCI Center website, which is healthy.ucla.edu, and a recording of this session will be posted on our website as well, and our YouTube channel. I'd like to, Chalet and I have much gratitude to the speakers. Again, James Bassett, Sam Soetenga, and Angela DiBlasi. And also I'd like to, the behind the scenes, as we know, if you lift the curtain, there's a whole bunch of people behind the scenes, and that's Katie Embry, Heidi Martinez, Gino Mahelek, Michael McCormick, Nick Siraki, Nelson Vieda, Jay Takahashi, and Thaibia Richardson, and all the other IT team that helped prepare this. We are so grateful, and thank you so much, all of you, for attending and taking the time to do this.